Hello everybody, welcome to Art in Purulia. We are discussing oil painting. This is the second part out of total 3 parts. I would recommend you to watch the first part first if you haven't watched already. In the first part, we discussed the preparation required in the form of various materials to start off oil painting. In this second part, we will discuss the various steps that are generally followed in the process of an oil painting and the various techniques that can be employed. Let's assume we have gathered all the materials required for oil painting. A typical oil painting workflow would involve preparing the painting surface, laying an underpaint, drawing the rough sketch, doing the main painting, and carrying out finer corrections after evaluating or as pointed out by critics. And after a painting is finished, we need to wait for it to dry before we apply a coat of varnish and frame it. The first step is preparing the surface to paint. Whatever surface is selected, whether a stretched canvas mounted on wooden frame or cardboard or a wooden panel, the surface has to be prepared properly to make sure that it is rough enough to hold the paint so that it doesn't slide off, and also the oil is not absorbed by the surface, leaving the paint dry without any oil. For that, the surface needs to be primed using a primer, popularly known as gesso. A canvas purchased from the market generally has a very thin layer of gesso or no gesso at all. So it's always a good idea to lay at least 2 layers of gesso on the canvas before applying any paint. I feel in the beginning it's better to stick to a prepared canvas panel readily available in the market, and later on, once aware of the nuances of oil painting, you may experiment with other surfaces. Once the surface dries, you may like to smoothen it out slightly using a smooth sandpaper. Laying of underpainting. Next, you should consider laying down a muted background color for your canvas. I like to use raw umber or raw sienna or a mixture of all 3 primary colors. This gives you more of a middle ground to work with on your canvas rather than a glaringly white canvas. Painting straight onto a white canvas could wrap your sense of values. It also avoids any bare white parts of your canvas being exposed. It's an easy way to just start your painting and stops you from procrastinating, waiting for the perfect time to strike the canvas. Laying of underpainting is again a matter of preference. Many artists don't do any underpainting and start directly on the white canvas. Now that you have a colored background laid down on your canvas, you should consider placing a sketch for your composition. All it needs to do is set out the measured shapes in your composition. Use diluted paint or preferably a color which is predominant in the painting for the sketching. The purpose of the sketch is to merely guide you around the canvas. A sketch is also particularly useful if you are dealing with any perspective lines in your painting. So do a rough sketch of the composition. Add more detail for more complex subjects. Many artists like to draw the sketch even before laying an underpaint, or skip the underpainting altogether and straightway start with the painting. This method is generally employed when the painting has a lot of fine details and preserving shape and proportion is important, such as human figures or portrait. Grid method is also used if required to preserve proportion. The grid lines get covered with paint later on. Now we'll talk of how the main painting should be done and how the paint should be applied in various layers. Different layers are laid to progress various aspects of the painting, preferably from background to foreground, using the fat over lean and thick over thin principle. Now, what is this fat over lean and thick over thin principle? Fat paint refers to how much oil is present, By adding an oil medium to your paint, you are making it fatter. By adding a solvent to your oil paint, you are breaking down the oil and making it leaner. The fatter the paint, the slower it dries. The reason for painting fat over lean is that the layers on top must dry slower than the layers on the bottom of your canvas. If not, the paint will crack as it dries. A simple way of tackling this is to have a process of painting. Start with very lean paint, that is paint plus solvent, more of solvent. Then add layers which are slightly fatter, paint plus a mix of solvent, a less of solvent and more of oil. Every subsequent layer should be fatter than the prior, that is more of oil medium and less of solvent. Now what is thick over thin? This is a simpler principle to the fat over lean rule. Here it is the physical thickness. It is based on the drying time of oil paint. Thick oil paint dries slower than the thicker one. So in theory, your first layers should be very thin, almost glazes of paint. Then as you build up your painting, you should be adding increasing amount of substance and oil. Now that was the general guideline. Now we'll talk of how we apply the paints. Blocking in. Blocking in refers to an initial painting process of blocking in the general colors and shapes on your canvas. The purpose of blocking in is to lay down the general composition and color harmony without having to worry about the tedious details. You can really get a feel for where the painting is going with this technique. Generally, very large brushes and thinned paint are used for this. The end result of blocking in will be a no frills painting, what you would see if you squint. From there, you can start to add details and make any adjustments. For blocking in, you will usually start with toned down versions of the main color you are blocking in. You can then build up the saturation of the color as needed later in the painting. If you block in the colors with too much saturation, the painting could be overwhelming and you would spend the rest of your painting trying to tone it down. Sometimes much of the blocked in area is left exposed in the finished painting. Blocking in is a very popular technique for plein air painting as it allows you to cover the canvas very quickly with the general layout and color harmony. Wet in wet, also known as direct painting or a la prima, is a technique in which fresh paint is applied on top of an area that is still wet. It can be used to create a single layer painting when you want to change a color midway through a painting, or when you want to create soft, subtle changes in color and tone. Wet in wet is especially good for painting water and skies, which often include soft edges, movement and blending. Layering. Painting in layers allows you to add depth and detail to your work, with each new layer being slightly more refined than the last. You can also use the technique to create a multi-layered finish in which a part of every layer remains visible in the final piece. Another advantage of working this way is that it gives you time to reflect on your painting as each layer dries. Glazing. You can use glazes of transparent paint to adjust tone, color, definition and mood. Glazing can create a sense of depth as light passes through the transparent layers for a glowing effect. Whether you apply glazes during your painting or on your finished work, follow the fat over lean rule due to their high oil content. Making of glazes. There are two main types of glaze in oil painting: undiluted semi-transparent paints for thick glazes and paints thinned with a medium to become transparent for thin glazes. Thin glazes must be mixed with an oil-based medium to prevent cracking. You can buy prepared glazing medium or mix your own using 5 parts of turpentine, 1 part stand oil and 1 part dimmer varnish. Layers applied over the glaze must be fatter than the glaze. Blending is a painting technique where two different colors are slightly mixed together when wet, giving a smooth transition from one color to the next. The transition color will be a product of the two blended colors. That is, if you're blending blue into yellow, the transition color will be a green. Blending allows you to create subtle changes of color, which is great for shading and for giving objects realistic form. You can also bring your point of interest into sharp focus by blending other areas of your painting to soften and blur them. A soft brush is the traditional tool for a delicate effect, but you can also use a palette knife, your fingers, or a rag to blend the colors for a more impressionistic effect. Impasto. Oil paint has a rich, buttery quality, and the impasto technique, in which you apply thick, undiluted paint to the canvas, makes the most of this trait. While bearing in mind the fat over lean rule, you can use impasto to sculpt the surface of your painting and produce highly textured areas. You can also make a feature of the shadows and highlights created by the thick paint. You can use impasto to create focal points or to emphasize elements in the foreground, achieving contrast by painting thinner layers in the background. Alternatively, you can complete entire works in one thick layer, creating large relief paintings with peaks of paint. Whether applying paint with a palette knife or bristle brush, the aim is to let your method of working show, remembering to apply the thickest paint last. Add paint in one layer to avoid losing its purity and quality. Graffito. Graffito means to scratch in Italian, and you can use this technique to great effect in all kinds of painting. By scratching off areas of a layer of wet paint, you can reveal underlying paint below. Tools for removing paint can range from the end of a brush handle for the fine lines to a putty knife for scraping off large areas of paint. Scumbling. Scumbling is a technique used to create depth and texture by randomly scrubbing thin paint over an existing layer. The original paint shows through and in the eye of the viewer mixes with the scumbled layer. The technique can be used to suggest movement, give life to bland areas of solid color, and create subtle changes in atmosphere. Texture. Adding texture to your work can introduce unusual and striking effects. Try mixing additional material into the paint, such as sand, sawdust, or chalk. Alternatively, press coarse fabric onto the canvas to leave textured imprints. You can then paint on top of the resulting texture to incorporate them into your finished painting. Blotting or removing excess paint. A buildup of paint can make your work unmanageable. If this happens, you can either wait for the paint to dry or use a blotting technique. This involves pressing a sheet of absorbent paper, such as newspaper, onto the surface and then slowly peeling it off to remove some of the paint. The texture left behind can be a feature in itself, providing a contrast and a new surface into which to work. Oiling out to revive areas of dullness. Applying additional oil, such as tanned or linseed oil, to sunken, matte-looking areas of paint can lift the color and restore luster. Sunken paint is caused by some of the oil content of the paint being absorbed into the layer beneath. As sunken areas will draw out oil from the subsequent layers of paint and so exacerbate the problem, it is important to restore the areas with oil before applying more paint. Grisaille. Grisaille is a monochrome painting executed entirely in different shades of grey or a grey stone. Gris is a French term for grey. Paintings in a brown scale are referred to as brunile and paintings in a green scale are referred to as verdile. Grisaille was typically used during the Renaissance period as a standalone painting technique to imitate sculpture. It can also be used as a preliminary painting stage where the grisaille forms an underpainting which can then be glazed over. Currently, with the prominence of painting alla prima, the grisaille method is not commonly practiced. After the painting is done, or even while you are still working on it, you need to assess the work. Of course, you are assessing on a continual basis while you are working. You make corrections and try variations of each stroke. You stand back to assess a color or the placement of a form. But you can use a method to evaluate your work to help you progress to your goal and achieve even more. First method is stand back and take a glance. Every artwork has a viewing distance and it exerts a force on you to move to that position. Find the viewing distance of your painting and then walk back from it until the details start to blur together. The distance is greater for larger paintings. When you stand back at the proper distance, examine each area of your painting and ask yourself whether you made a decision about what you see. Did you just fill in an area of the background? Be sure that you have something going on, something for the viewer to see in all parts of the painting. Another method is turn the painting upside down. Viewing a painting upside down is a good way to check your total composition. Flip your work upside down or sideways to look at it from a distance. This trick helps you to focus on the shapes in the painting and less on the subject. Assess the overall composition for balance and check for dead areas in your painting. Another method is mirror trick. This method is like the upside down trick, only it helps you to spot almost all problems, big or small. Either use a hand mirror and look at the painting over your shoulder or hold the painting up in front of you while looking in a mirror. Wobbly ellipses, leaning doors, and uphill horizon lines all jump out at you. When you get that quiet sense of unease about your work or just can't seem to solve a problem, try this strategy. Ask for someone else's opinion. Asking for another opinion is a delicate choice because you are exposing yourself to the judgment of another. I give you a few reasons for doing this. They have a better perspective because they haven't been working on the painting for hours and they see things fresh that you don't see. They can spot something incongruous. Art is about communication. Just like writing or playing music, you want to work to be enjoyed and appreciated by others. So it helps you in the long run to have someone help you check your work. Just like you have someone proof your writing or check your sound in a large hall. Another thing is you can get a critic. A critic is when an individual or a group of people talks about your work and assess all parts of your painting. In the best possible situations, the person acts as a stand-in for the public, your audience. He or she tells you when you have a problem or when your colors sing. A critic can be painful, but it helps you grow as an artist and get to know your work and yourself. That brings us to an end to this video about oil painting. We have seen preparation of surface for painting, various techniques and basic concepts of how an oil painting can be done from beginning to end. In the next video, I'll talk about how to seal the painting using varnish and also discuss some practical aspects like cleaning of the brushes after painting. Thank you for watching this video. Please don't forget to share it with someone who may be interested. See you.